Okay, I'm coming back to a rule that I've taught about before. Rule number 1, which is in a list of 3 or more linked with and or, put a comma after all the items except the last. I am going to be going over what that actually looks like with regard to different examples. All right, the first example is the obvious one where you do have a list of particulars. We'll start with a list in the subject line, okay? Mr. Bailey, Mr. Khalik, and Mr. Hissong all work at Northside High School. In this case, what we have is a subject that is plural, and it's a list of particulars. We have Mr. Bailey, Mr. Khalik, and Mr. Hissong, and they're linked with that coordinating conjunction and they work at Northside High School. Notice how the verb matches the multiple plural subjects. So that's the first case with a list of 3 or more in a subject. Another example then, example 2, is to have the list of particulars in the predicate. I enjoy playing the guitar, mandolin, and bass. Once again, then, in this case, we have the list of particulars of 3 or more in the predicate, linked with and, guitar, mandolin, and bass. So that's the third example, or second example. The third example, then, that we have of a list of particulars of 3 or more happens to be when we have what is called a complex predicate. In other words, there's more than one predicate to the sentence. And I'll give an example. The English teacher makes YouTube videos, works at Northside, and coaches football. In this case now, we have a list of particulars of 3 or more, but what makes this one unique is we have a predicate, makes YouTube videos, another predicate, works at Northside, and coaches football, which is the third predicate. In this case, we have 3 items, but they all happen to be verbs ending to the sentence, linked with that conjunction and they're linked together, and therefore, because there's 3 or more, we have to put a comma after all of them except the last. So that's essentially most of the manifestations of that first rule at work. Just remember, in a list of 3 or more linked with and or, put a comma after all of them except the last.